Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm here to share this quite curvy Autumn Greetings card with you. So let me set this aside and we'll get started. So to begin, we're going to use the Autumn Greetings bundle, which consists of the Autumn Greetings stamp set and then the Autumn Essentials dies. Now these can be found in the August through December mini catalog, and when you purchase them as a bundle, you receive a 10% discount. I've gone ahead and mounted the large floral in my Stamparatus, and I have a piece of Whisper White and my terracotta tile ink. And the reason that I am using the Stamparatus rather than a block is this stamp has lots of detail over a large area, and so I want to be able to stamp it, give it a good rub, and then pull it up and check. So I would like this center section inked a little bit more, and so I'm just going to tap on ink, concentrating in the center to kind of make those elements pop. So we'll give that another good rub with my hand, and that looks better to me. So now I'm going to take this piece and die cut it with those Autumn Essentials dies, and I'll be right back. Now that this Autumn Greetings floral is die cut, we have one more piece of stamping to do, and I have a piece of Pretty Peacock that's, let's make sure, I think this is 1 inch. Yes, 1 inch by 5 1/4. And then we're going to use a sentiment from the Quite Curvy bundle. And the bundle is the Quite Curvy stamp set, and then the Curvy Dies. And these are part of the Curvy Celebrations promotion that's going on right now. So this stamp set is photopolymer. And let me grab the dies again for a moment, because we will need our die as a guide. Now you want to be sure when you're doing this that with these dies the little detail is along the edge, and then there's a cutting edge only on one side. So make sure that you have your detail pointing the right direction, or this doesn't really work. So we're just going to set this down on our piece of cardstock. I'm going to add some washi to hold it in place for a moment, just double checking to make sure that I've got my cutting edge here on the bottom. And I just want to temporarily hold this in place, which is where my washi comes in. Now I'm going to take my sentiment off the block and lay it along this curve, and then I'm going to come back with the block, and we're going to adjust this a little bit. Curve, make sure I'm stuck to the block, and that looks like it'll work. Okay, so let's move the die out of the way. We do need the piece of cardstock. I'm going to flip it over since I've been handling that, and we're going to ink this in Versamark, just making sure I'm getting it good and inky, and then stamp somewhere middle-ish, right and left and top and bottom, because we want to leave ourselves enough room to cut when we're done. Okay, let's just set this on my scrap paper and grab my gold Stampin' Emboss powder and shake this all over. And give it a good flick front and back to knock off that excess. And then I'm going to take this over and heat set this. I'm going to use the heat tool from behind, and that way I'm not blowing any of the embossing powder around. And while I'm over there, I'm also going to do my die cutting, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's that sentiment piece that's been die cut. Now you remember I told you there's only a cutting edge on one side, so you line your die up going one direction, and then you're going to have to turn it around and shift to a different part of the die to cut the curve on the top of your sentiment. But then you end up with this really freeform looking piece, and we're going to change that a bit now. So I'm going to put this in my trimmer, and I want a little bit of an angle cut. So I'm going to put the shortest piece right here in the track and angle it just a little so that we get not a straight up and down, but a little bit of an angle. And we'll do the same thing here. So the this one, actually, we're going to make sure that we're lining up here because we don't have as much differential. And then you can decide whether on the width of the card, and we do need to cut more off. So on this end, we're going to straighten it just a little bit. And that way we won't be hanging over the end quite as far. Okay, so while I was away, I also die cut some additional pieces using those Autumn Essentials dies, cutting pumpkins and then wheat from gold foil paper. I've used the Wrapped in Texture embossing folder to emboss a pretty peacock layer. Let's hold this and see if we can see all that great texture on here. Now you'll notice this stripe here, the folder's only this wide, and it's okay. I'm going to cover this with designer paper, so I didn't need to run that through a second time. And then I've used the classic Christmas designer paper. It's also part of the Curvy Celebrations promotion that's going on right now. And this designer paper pack comes in 6x6 and is only available during the promotion. I've used that same Curvy die to cut my designer paper. And now we're ready to assemble. So I've got a pretty peacock base and a piece of Whisper White for the inside. And let me take my multi-purpose glue and just give it a quick run across here. It does not take much of this glue to adhere your pieces. And then let's move this over just a moment. And I want to adhere my piece of designer paper to my pretty peacock layer. And same thing, I'm just going to give that a quick zip around. And let's make sure we line up these edges here. Okay. And see, you don't even know that the rest of that's not embossed. Now we're going to turn this over and grab my black Stampin' Dimensionals. And the reason I'm using the black dimensionals is because we're going onto dark cardstock, or I use them sometimes when I'm going from light cardstock onto dark, and that way you don't really see the dimensional. So you do want to make sure that when you've embossed a piece that you've given it enough support along the edges so that because the embossing softens the cardstock, and that way if you've given it enough support it won't be wavy and rumply there. Okay, so then next we're going to need our Autumn Greetings pieces, and I'm going to add a couple of the black Stampin' Dimensionals on here where it's going to be on the darker paper. And then I'm going to finish with the white Stampin' Dimensionals. Now I'm just going to hold this in place for a moment and grab my adhesive and put my little wheat sprigs in here. Now if you would like to receive this card, I've actually got 2 of them. Leave me a comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and I will be randomly selecting someone to receive the card. I will only mail in the U.S. Sorry to my non-U.S. Viewers. And I will be selecting someone next Tuesday. So let's put this piece down, and I don't want to adhere this completely here, and we're going to go ahead and put our sentiment on, and I need a double stack of dimensionals on either end, since it's going to go across our Autumn Essentials piece, and it's on a dimensional. And then we'll put a single here in the middle. Okay. I'm just going to straighten that end. Let's pull this out just a little bit further on this end. We can go all the way out to the edge of the card. Okay, and I'm just touching it lightly on this side because I still want to slide my pumpkins in. Now, you could have chosen to die cut these pumpkins on a piece of adhesive sheet, and then they would already be sticky and no need to add glue to them. I wasn't thinking about that as I die cut my larger pieces, but you get the benefit of my having done this and said, well, there's a better way. Okay, so let's press this all down good now. Let's move these out of the way and add our embellishments, and we're almost done. So I've got some of these gilded gems, and we're just going to add a couple of them, oops, sticky finger, here at the top of the card. As I said, you can give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed today's card. Share it with your card making friends. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell if you would like to receive notifications the next time I upload a video.